Hi everybody. So my friend and somebody that I intern with at Everyday Feminism, Margaret Kammer, who runs a YouTube channel called It's Just Margaret. She is like so amazing. I've been spending my weekend watching all of her videos, and she is just honestly so funny and cute and smart and sweet, and she just inspires me to be better. And I'm like, wow, my YouTubing is nothing like her. I am more like awkward and weird and ranty and weird. Yeah. So she's like my YouTube inspiration because I think she's just, oh my god, like she just has this great sense of humor. And it's funny because when I talk to her, not in real life because she lives in Seattle and all that stuff, but during meetings and stuff through video chat, she seems very quiet and quirky and like a total difference, total 180 between the YouTube Margaret and the real life Margaret, which I think is awesome actually. Props for that because it means that you really can act. I mean, like, it's like you're an actress, which I think acting is an amazing skill. I know that almost sounds like a dig or something. I do not mean it like that at all. To be able to, like, put that on and really be funny and engaging, I think that's just amazing. I mean, she's seriously like a comedian. She's just great. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for her YouTube channel, and you should go subscribe because she is just amazing. And I think if you like my videos, you would probably like her videos too. So anyway, on to what we're talking about this video. I decided to do a book haul because Margaret did one some time ago, and I thought it was a cool idea because I've been getting a lot of books lately, and I always read a lot of books, and it's fun to talk about them and feel accomplished. So let's go ahead and get into this book haul. First, we have Reducing Gun Violence in America, which I know you're like, what the fuck is that? The cover fell off because what had happened in the bookstore, I dropped it, and like part of it kind of like ripped off, and I just didn't really think anything of it. And soon, like the whole thing came off, which I don't care. I mean, it's still a book. This is all glued, so it just doesn't have the cover. And yeah, but I just thought it was so funny. It looks so mangled and stuff, but it's actually pretty new. And I did read this book. I finished it yesterday. And what it is it's this comprehensive journal almost of all of these different studies and research and professional opinions from experts in criminology and stuff like that on how we can reduce gun violence in America. And it was compiled by a couple of professors from Johns Hopkins and put together in this nice little book. And it's really great. It really does give you a comprehensive view of like all of the different facets of gun control. They talk about the Second Amendment in here. They talk about gun crime that happens through the transfer of illegal guns, through the black market. They talk about some of the laws and enactments that have happened in Congress that have or have not affected gun violence. And it's really good because it does give you a really comprehensive look at it. There's, I believe, 20 studies in here. And all of the studies, I do have to say as well, are very well done, very comprehensive, and use a large sample size, which can be really important. And they point out their own flaws. You don't have to like go and look for them yourself, which I think is cool when the researchers do that and acknowledge that their research isn't perfect. So that's the first book. The second book is called Men and Feminism. This book I've actually been reading for my Women and Gender Studies class. I only have one chapter left, so I'm basically pretty much done with this book. And it's a pretty good book. It does give you a comprehensive look at feminism, especially from a male perspective. It talks a lot about masculinity and the social construction of gender. And so if you're looking to find out more about these topics and learn them in a little more of a basic way, this is a really, really great book to read for that. It was a little bit beyond me. I did have to take an intro class because everybody has to take an intro class. That's just how life is. So I haven't really been like learning that much from it because most of the material I already know or have seen or what have you. But this is a really good book. If you're new to feminism, I would suggest that you take a look at this. Alright, next we have a few books that I got at this really cool used bookstore here. It's called The Body and Society, Men, Women, and Sexual reunification in early Christianity. I still have no fucking idea what that word means. I mean, I kind of do, but I just cannot pronounce it for the life of me. So it's used. I got it for like $4, and it seemed really interesting because I've always wanted to know more about sexual history and like how sexuality has changed throughout history. I mean, I know some, but I wanted to have a look, especially at biblical times, because that's really affected the Western world. It's affected how the Western world has really been for the last 2,000 years. So I think it's really important, and this book does that. So I'm really, really excited to read this. The next book I got was also from the used bookstore. It's called Secrets of Life, Essays on Language, Gender, and Science. Here's the book, and it looks really, really interesting. It's about exactly what the cover says. It has different essays, and it has... Does it have an author or an editor? I don't even know. Okay, it says one author with a bunch of different essays that she was written in here. But I was just looking through them in the bookstore, and they looked really, really good. And I'm excited to see what this is all about. And I know it has a feminist spin to it, so that should be good. The next book is The Flip Side of... Oh, I'm sorry, it's not The Flip Side of Feminism. The History of Feminism and the Future of Women, No Turning Back. The Flip Side of Feminism is a sucky book. Don't read it. I don't know why I said that. This is this book, and I've wanted to read this for a while, and I'm about 70 pages through, so it's pretty good. I got through talking about prehistorical societies and things like that. They also touched on the first wave a little bit. It really, really is a history book. When it says history, it means history. It gives you a lot of facts, gives you a lot of historical knowledge, has a huge basis. The whole book is basically history. And it's really cool because it takes all of the history and shows how it relates to feminism, how it relates to feminism today. So I would highly recommend this book, especially if you are wanting to learn more about the historical aspects of feminism, why feminism is important or has been important historically. And yeah, you should read this book if that is you. The next book I read a couple weeks ago by Barack Obama. I don't know if you guys know who that is. You know, he's kind of famous. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know who he was, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if you did know who he was. You know, just one of those people that you kind of know, but don't really know. You know what I mean? I am so bad when I try to be sarcastic. Anyway, The Audacity of Hope. He's also written another book, Dreams of My Father, which is probably more famous than this book. But this book, I wanted to read. I got it for like $8, and I was like, sure, let's read it. Really good stuff, guys. I mean, he really talks about his own life, and he also talks about different political issues and why he's conducted himself politically the way he has. And this book gives you a more real look at Barack Obama. And I say that because when somebody is the president, most of, well, not even most, 100% of what you see of them is stuff that their media team has constructed. You're essentially seeing the social construction of said president. That's not really their raw personality or how they really are. Because everything is based off of image, and the image that what their team thinks that they should be presenting. You know, you don't see unscripted stuff, is basically what I'm saying. And so, this book he wrote when he was a United States Senator for the state of Illinois, I think in 2005. And so, you get a little more of Barack Obama and his personality. You can tell he wrote the book, that it wasn't ghostwritten, that these are actually his words. It's pretty apparent. And he's really charming, and he's just very real. You know, he talks about real issues from like just a very pragmatic perspective. He doesn't bullshit you at all in this book, and I love that. I love when people are just themselves and will talk about anything and not be afraid to say what they really think, not what they think that they should think, which I think a lot of famous people do that. He does not. I will say, like I said, I see a difference between like the president him and this him. This is the real him. So it's cool to get to kind of see the more real side of him. I'm sure when he's done being president, you'll kind of see that come back, you know, because he won't have like some image to live up to anymore. In the same way, at least. So this is really good. If you haven't read The Audacity of Hope, I would highly recommend that you read it. How is this video already 10 minutes? I am cray. Okay, this next book is called One of the Guys, Girls, Gangs, and Gender. And this is actually a textbook. It's based on research that this one researcher, Jody Miller, who is a professor, and I can't see what she's a professor of right now on the back because there's a big sticker on the back. But she's a professor, and she wrote this book based on her research of girls in gangs. And she talks about how girls make up about 30 to 40% of gang members, but yet they're pretty much ignored in media. You don't really hear a lot about girls in gangs. So she's like, I'm going to talk about it. And she does. And it's a really good book so far. And it seems like a great research tool if you're just wondering more about the subject. Okay, the next book is a book I've had for a while, but I just really have been meaning to read it. I've kind of read it, meaning I've read like the first 30 pages and skimmed through it, but I haven't actually read it. And I need to because it's a classic, especially as a women and gender studies major. It's called Gender Trouble by Judith Butler. Very, very famous book, and I really need to read it. So I put this in this video to tell myself, should read this fucking book, like right now. Like right now. And the last book I'm featuring is called The Female Gaze, Women as Viewers of Popular Culture. So it's a bunch of essays about women and how they're represented and portrayed and seen in popular culture. And this is based off the concept of the male gaze, which means that things are from the male perspective. Like when you see women in movies or TV or magazines, they're presented for men. Like women being sexualized, for example, that's based off the male gaze because that is created for men to react to. That's not created for women. That's from the male point of view. And we see that all the time. Like even think of the Big Bang Theory. That's a really great example of the male gaze. The entire show, not just the female characters. And that's largely how popular culture works. It's all from the male perspective, and so they kind of twisted the words a little bit, and these are all women who contributed, who are talking about popular culture and talking about whether things are feminist or anti-feminist or how we should view different characters and things in popular culture. So if you're interested in media literacy and topics like that, this is a great book to read. So that concludes my book haul, except for something really kind of weird and boring. I read a lot of books on my iPad. I recently got a $100 gift card for the App Store, iTunes, and iBooks, which came with my computer when I got it. It was some kind of promotional thing, and so I've been checking out iBooks, and I actually kind of like it. And I've been reading Manifesta, which is another classic feminist book on there. I'm about halfway through it. So exciting to look at that, right? And then let's go to my Kindle and see what I have been reading there. Because I read like a million books at once on my Kindle, so I don't know the names of all of them. Okay, so we've got the Fat Studies Reader, which is a really good book on basically research around fatness. It's exactly what it says it is. And there really isn't a lot of research outside of like the obesity stuff that is completely bullshit, which this book deconstructs. And it talks about body positivity, and like it's so good. You need, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you should read this book. I also have The Problem with Work. I can't read the subtitle, but that's a book about Marxism and feminism, and I've heard great things about it. I'm about 10% of the way through. I also have Unbearable Weights, which is another feminist book on eating disorders. And yeah, those are the books on my Kindle that I'm reading right now. And yeah, so this concludes my book haul. And let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I liked doing it because I like talking about reading. I love how I'm like sitting here like, let's talk about this video and conclude it in a normal way. This is not an essay, Erin. This is a freaking YouTube video. Okay, I'm going to end it here. Love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.